Good afternoon, EDU 525. Today we're going to be discussing physical response and total physical response storytelling as a strategy. The step-by-step implementation of this strategy includes introducing new vocabulary. Start by introducing new vocabulary in the target language, for example, action verbs such as jump, run, sit, stand, etc. Model the action. The teacher demonstrates the action while saying the corresponding words, for example, jump, while physically jumping. Student response. Ask students to repeat the action, in unison with the teacher. Students follow the teacher's lead by performing physical actions while hearing the target language. Increasing the complexity. Gradually increase the complexity of the commands. After the students are familiar with basic actions, introduce combinations, jump, clap your hands. Encourage spontaneity. Over time, students can give commands to each other and react to more complex instructions, so allowing them for increased interaction and language production. A good example here is selecting or creating a story. Choose a simple and engaging story that incorporates target language, vocabulary, and grammar structures. For example, a story with a character who goes on a journey and faces a problem. Tell the story as the teacher narrates the story slowly and clearly, emphasizing key vocabulary using gestures, props, visual aids to help illustrate the story. Incorporating student participation. Pause during the story, ask students questions. These questions require physical response. What would the character do next? Verbal input. What do you think would help the character? Act out the story. Encourage students to physically act out parts of the story, either individually or in groups, reinforcing vocabulary, structures used in the story. Repetition and comprehension. Retell the story multiple times, asking students to retell parts or act out scenes. Repetition ensures language acquisition and increases comprehension. Expand the story. Gradually expand the story, adding more vocabulary, grammar, helping students engage and learn language. When looking at the text example, it incorporates a strategy being used by Mr. Tong. He teaches his students name of body parts in English. He begins by introducing vocabulary like head, chin, nose, using verbal commands alongside with physical actions, head, nose, chin, such as pointing out or touching the corresponding body parts. Initially, he demonstrates these actions, then gradually transitions to give verbal commands only, ensuring that students follow along. Over several days, he expands the vocabulary to include more body parts and introduces a new name, where students connect body parts to their functions. What helps you see? For eyes. As the students grow more confident, Mr. Tong introduces another activity where they take turns giving each other directions, like touch your hands, point to your feet. This reinforces the understanding of body parts and encourages these students to use English in meaningful ways. Throughout the lesson, Mr. Tong uses TPR to support receptive listening and understanding. Also, productive speaking skills. These activities are engaging and allow students to practice language in low-stress situations and an environment that not only helps students learn vocabulary, but also connects them, these terms to real world and functions and actions. Using TPR, total physical response, in a classroom setting of my choice or the grade level that I'm focusing on, I could implement an activity or a lesson that is a little bit more advanced with the concepts it introduces, for example, environmental vocabulary or science terms, how to implement TPR on focus. An example would be introducing weather vocabulary. So step 1, introduce vocabulary. Start by teaching weather-related words: sunny, rainy, windy, stormy, cloudy. Show images of weather symbols and introduce each word. Model the actions. As you say each word, demonstrate the related action. For example, for sunny, you can pretend to shield your eyes from the sun. For rainy, you can act as if you're wiping rain from your face, body, and pretend like you're under an umbrella. Practice commands. Once students are familiar with the vocabulary, give verbal commands like pretend it's sunny, squint your eyes. Act like it's raining, hold an umbrella. Show me how you walk in a windy storm. Move like it's cloudy or wind's blowing against you. Step 4 would be gradual transition. After modeling and practicing several times, begin using verbal commands. Observe the students and to ensure that they understand the actions and the vocabulary. Engage with real-life applications. That's step 5. Once students are comfortable with the weather terms, then use the vocabulary in sentences. For example, today the weather is sunny go on outside of play. Encourage them to share their own weather-related experiences using the vocabulary. Group activities. Let students work in pairs, small groups, and act out different weather conditions with the rest of the class, while the rest of the class guesses the weather terms. This makes learning experience more fun and interactive. Review and reinforce. Continue by reinforcing weather vocabulary through the group discussion, daily weather reports, or short stories. As students gain confidence, they can start using vocabulary in more complex terms. Lastly, the examples approximation behaviors related to the TESOL standards for 4th and 5th grade. Standard 1, language knowledge. Students demonstrate their understanding of vocabulary by physically acting out terms, showing comprehension, and before they produce words more accurately. Standard 2, communication skills. TPR allows students to practice both listening and speaking. At first, students will respond with commands, actions, and gradually move to full sentences. Standard 3, cultural competence. Understanding weather vocabulary can connect students with real-life experiences, such as discussing different weather patterns in the local community. Standard 4, language proficiency development. Through TPR, students can develop language proficiency by hearing, acting, and eventually using vocabulary to communicate in other activities. Students move from simple commands to more complex verbal usage. By using TPR with weather vocabulary, students not only learn the words, but they make real-life connections and how they experience different weather conditions. This approach keeps the learning dynamic and enhances both vocabulary acquisition and language use in context. Thank you.